Today in Action TV, we are going to take a look at a story that we have been following very closely. In fact, we reported to you last week about a cabinet paper that has been put forward by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to obtain 400 megawatts of power as an emergency purchase. Now, I want to take you back once again and explain the situation surrounding this cabinet decision. On the 26th of April, Minister Ravi Karunanayake, the subject minister in charge of power and renewable energy, put forward a cabinet paper requesting the approval to purchase 200 megawatts of power as a supplementary or an emergency power purchase. And on the 28th of April, Minister Ravi Karunanayake again put forward a letter with several conditions or amendments to the said cabinet paper. In this particular amendment or the conditions that have been set forward, it says that tax concessions or exemptions of tax for the companies that will be providing this power, the 200 megawatts, as I said earlier, the two barges from a Turkish company will be exempted from tax. Not only that, there is another request for approval to grant them a special permission to import the fuel needed for the generation of power by that particular company without purchasing it from the CPC or any other means from the country. They can, if the approval was granted, can bring their own fuel for their purposes. Now, after these amendments were put forward, on the 30th, this cabinet paper receives approval, and we reported to you last week how a cabinet paper again put forward by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, not for 200 megawatts, but for 400 megawatts, had received the approval of the cabinet. Now, this letter that you see behind me is the letter sent by the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, the authority to monitor the activities of the Ceylon Electricity Board, sent to the Ministry Secretary of the Ministry of Finance. Now, what has this letter got to say to us? Now, this is the letter sent to the Finance Ministry Secretary after the Finance Ministry informs the PUCSL of these latest developments with regard to power purchase. Now, this information had gone to the PUCSL on the 9th of May. The cabinet decision was taken on the 30th, but the decision has been transferred or told to the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka on the 9th of May. And after that, the chairperson of the PUCSL writes back to the Ministry Secretary. This is the letter that you see behind me. What does this letter say? This letter says, yes, the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy and the Ministry of Finance can purchase emergency power. However, if such a purchase is being carried out, that requires the prior approval of the Public Utilities Commission. And this particular instance, at this particular transaction, that approval from the PUCSL had not been received. The PUCSL further requests that the recommendations that have been put forward by this letter be brought before the cabinet, and cabinet approval be cabinet pay its attention to these recommendations as well. However, when this comes to the cabinet the next time, that particular cabinet proposal that I told you earlier, put forward by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe with regard to the purchase of 400 megawatts as emergency power purchase, had already been approved. So this PUCSL letter comes in that background. Now, when it comes to the ministry, when it comes to the Ceylon Electricity Board, and when it comes to the Public Utilities Commission, these three institutions have three different objectives, three different tasks to complete. Obviously, the ministry is there to take policy decisions. The Ceylon Electricity Board has its execution ability. It decides where the power is being purchased and who is the power purchaser. However, the Commission also has a very big responsibility, and that responsibility is to monitor the activities of the CEB as the license provider with regard to this utility. Now, however, with what we see that has been happening with regard to this 200 or 400 megawatt emergency power purchase is the fact that all three of these components carrying out policy decisions, executing those policy decisions, and monitoring whether those policy decisions are reached is being done by one particular party, and that seems to be the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, and specifically from the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy, the Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Renewable Energy. Now, decisions are taken as to whether there is a scarcity of electricity with the information that is provided by the CEB to the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. They decide, the CEB decides whether there is a shortage of electricity, whether there needs to be an emergency power purchase. However, for the proper transparent nature of these transactions and these decisions, the data is also taken to the Public Utilities Commission. Now, what we have found out on our Action TV investigation is startling, because we have information to say that from May of last year, that's right, from May of last year, the CEB has not provided any such data or material to the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka. So who is at fault here? Is it the CEB, is it the ministry, or is it the Public Utilities Commission? Because at the end of the day, this is all money that belongs to the general public, you and I, and it is not those who are holding power that will be spending their own money for these purposes. So we have to question where this is going and what is happening. Of course, we will keep a close watch regarding everything that's happening in the power and energy sector as well.